Welcome to the driver's seat. We are here to launch the all-new, first ever 2022 Toyota Corolla Cross. Now, the Corolla nameplate has sold over 50 million units in its 55-year existence. That's the best-selling car of all time. So Toyota wanted to leverage that, and of course, to leverage that, it means operating in that white space. And what does that mean? Well, you have the RAV4, and then you have the C-HR. C-HR is a little too small for some people, RAV4 a little too big for some, so this fits nicely right in the middle. And they chose Austin, Texas, which is a great place because it's a very young, vibrant town. In fact, behind me, I think they're doing some kind of TikTok dance video, but that's the kind of people they're going after. They want that youthful market because a starting price of $22,000 for the base front-wheel drive L model, a lot of people can afford it. Even this fully loaded all-wheel drive XLE model tops out at $28,000 with all the options, and that's the one we've been spending our time with. The car looks good. It really drives nice. It has a CVT transmission, which we're not big fans of, but this is a different kind of CVT because it's got a real first gear. So we'll get into the design aspects as well as the technology aspects, both inside and out. And I think Toyota's got a real home run, and it wouldn't surprise me if the Corolla Cross starts outselling the Corolla sedan in no time. As someone who currently owns 2 Toyota products, I can tell you that they have struggled a bit with their design language over the last couple of decades. But it's nice to see that their design is really starting to come together. You're starting to see kind of family resemblance, and I think this is one of their best looking vehicles. So let's start with the color. This Cypress Green is a new color for Toyota, and it looks great. It's nice to see that they're bringing back some better colors, enough of the whites and the grays and the blacks. I like to see some of these brighter colors, and it really works on this youthful crossover. So let's talk about the grille. We've seen this grille before in some of their other products, including the RAV4, and so you have that family resemblance. To make it look kind of sporty, you've got this bumper that is not color-coded, but it's actually this black plastic, and they've carried that throughout with the fender flares and also by the rocker panels. So it gives it kind of a sporty look. And because this is the XLE top of the line model, you're going to have these LED day running lights, which really stand out. So when you look at the 3 trim levels, they've done a good job of differentiating. I would say that the L is probably going to be a very low percentage, maybe 3 to 5%. First of all, why would Toyota spend a lot of effort on that when they're limited really how many they can make? Speaking about where they're going to manufacture this, it's going to be in Alabama, and they have a capacity of doing 150,000 units a year. So I think they have high expectations. But the middle trim level, which we'll drive later, that one is going to be their high volume, which is the LE, but the XLE is really the one to get if you can afford it. $28,000, not that bad. That is a good price point. And when you look at its primary competitor, the HR-V, I think this blows it away. The 2-liter 4-cylinder engine produces 169 horsepower and 150 pound-feet of torque. That's capable of towing up to 1,500 pounds, which is really on par for the segment. We mentioned the CVT transmission, but it has a proper first gear. All-wheel drive is optional on all 3 trim levels for an extra $1,300, and I think that's significant because not every vehicle in the segment, and Toyota tells us there are really about 20 competitors in this segment, so it's really a stacked area that they needed to compete in. But I see this one easily being in the top 3 as far as your options if you're in the market for a vehicle in this size and this configuration. As you can see, Toyota has carried this black bumper design that they had in the front and the rocker panels all the way to the back bumper, and I think it looks good. In other colors, it's really going to stand out, blends in a little nicer with this Cypress Green. I like the chiseled look that they're going for in a lot of their vehicles, but especially in this Corolla Cross. Speaking of Corolla Cross, throughout the vehicle, you'll see on the other side over here, this chrome, they've embedded Corolla Cross. They also have little logos of the vehicle throughout. About 20 of them is what they're telling us, so they're kind of hidden, something that the designers kind of had fun with. I like this chiseled look where you see these taillights kind of protrude a little bit. It gives it a nice little angular separation. The one thing that they've done only with the XLE, the top of the line, is have an optional power liftgate. And I don't know how essential that is for this particular segment. A lot of vehicles don't even offer it, but nevertheless, they do have it. Standard on the XLE is this tonneau cover. As you can see here, this is nice to hide your valuables in here. This JBL audio system is optional, but it certainly adds a lot to this vehicle. Again, $28,000 fully loaded. That's the power liftgate. That's the upgraded sound system, the works. So nice job of packaging. And again, $22,000 to $28,000. That's not a big range for having 3 models. And I think they're going to really focus on those top 2 for the average consumer. Enough talking about the design and engine of this vehicle. Let's get in it and drive it, because actually it's about 95 degrees here in Austin, and I want to see how the dual climate zone works on this all-new Corolla Cross. So as mentioned, we're in the top of the line Corolla Cross XLE. The Corolla Cross sits nicely between the C-HR, which is kind of their entry-level subcompact crossover, and the RAV4, which has really evolved into a mid-size. If you think about the first RAV4 that came out, it's probably about this size, maybe even smaller. So as these vehicles get bigger and bigger, it's important to fill in that white space, and that's what Toyota's done with the Corolla Cross. And not just in size, because you look at almost every dimension, it's a little bit shorter than the RAV4, a little taller than the C-HR, a little bit narrower, but then a little wider than the C-HR. So it really fits nicely in between there, and this is really maybe what the RAV4 should have stayed, but they had to keep evolving it because that's where the segment went, so it almost created this new segment in between. And they're going to do great with it. When you get to the XLE, you go from like a 4-inch multi-information display to a 7-inch. You also go to a full digital display. So they've really had some nice breaks. I'm not going to focus so much on the L. That's kind of the price leader. We'll see if they even make 3 to 5% of those. But the bulk is going to be the LE, and then I think about 30% might be this XLE. But you are going to get some nice upgrades when you go to that. You get the 10-way power adjustable seats, you get these Soft-Tech seat, so you get some nice amenities, and I think it's worth the extra money. All-wheel drive, that's a no-brainer. $1,300, that's one of those options. Like I've always said, you'll always get that when you go to sell it, and why not? Just go ahead and go for it. Speaking of their all-wheel drive system, you can get up to, for the rear, as little as 10% or as much as 50% power. So they've done a good job of distribution. There's a lot of technology in here, a lot of great safety features. You have when you get that Toyota Safety Sense, but you get adaptive cruise control, and you get lane keep assist. It even detects street signs. So Toyota has really stepped it up. As somebody who owns a 2020 Land Cruiser, I can tell you this vehicle has in some ways more technology, and that's a much more expensive vehicle, but clearly Toyota focuses on their high volume vehicles, and that's where this one's going to be. They're going to sell every single one of these, and that's just where we're at right now. Everybody wants crossovers over sedans, and with the Toyota brand, it's a no-brainer. So as far as driving, you may want to we've done a little bit of as far as how the Corolla Cross drives, thumbs up. They've done a nice job. They didn't add things like paddle shifters. You don't need paddle shifters in a vehicle like this, so they didn't waste money on that in order to keep the price down. But it drives nice. It's relatively quiet. It's good in the city over bumps and whatnot. It's very comfortable on the highway here. It handles nicely. It really checks all the marks. I mean, you got all these amazing steering controls that it really help you focus on the road. You're not going to find head-up display in a vehicle in this price point, and that's okay because nothing else has that. So they've really done their homework on this one, and I think time will tell where it goes into the pecking order of the rest of the segment. But it would really surprise me if it wasn't one of the top 3 best-selling. You can see we're on a little bit of a curve here, and it handles quite nicely. Handles bumps nicely, and good visibility, no major blind spots. I'm impressed. Again, we'll spend a week with this, maybe in about a month or so when it hits the the fleet, so we could do some longer term testing. But so far so good. Easy to get in and out of. Seats are comfortable. Plenty of headroom. I mean, even with the sunroof option here, I still have about 2 inches above my head. So it's really hard to find a whole lot to complain. But what's nice for you, the consumer, is that if you are in the market for a vehicle in this segment, you have so many options right now. And so it's really going to come down to, I hate to say it, for the next year, availability, because supply is really low and demand is extremely high. We've only spent a couple of hours in this Corolla Cross XLE, and so far so good. If the Honda HR-V is its primary competitor, I would say this vehicle is definitely a full step above it. Now, granted, it's had 3 or 4 years to study the HR-V, so they knew what they were getting into. But as far as building on the Corolla name, why not? They've sold 50 million units worldwide in the last 55
Turn
years.
right, then take a slight left turn to merge onto State Highway 1 Loop North.
But so far, extremely impressed with this XLE all-wheel drive, loaded out, $28,000. This is a very attractive price point, and I think they're gonna do quite well with this. As you can see, they've done a tremendous job, in my opinion, with the dash. The infotainment screen is nice and bold, and you have Apple CarPlay, you have Android Auto, everything that you would expect in a vehicle. I'm so glad Toyota finally evolved from that InTune system, which they were convinced is all anyone needed, because there's nothing like Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, in my opinion. The buttons are nice and recessed, really high quality, high touch buttons. So this is the XLE, so you're going to have the dual climate zones. You don't get that with the L or the LE. But what you do get on all three is rear vents, which is nice. So if you're sitting in the back seat on a really hot day like today, you are going to at least get some cold air, or maybe it's winter and it's going to be really cold somewhere, you get some warm air. So it's nice. That's not something you would find in a typical SUV maybe 15, 20 years ago, but to have it in kind of an entry-level crossover like this Corolla Cross, that's big. That costs money, but they're able to do it because they know they're listening to their customers. Mentioned the steering wheel. It's really, for a vehicle in this segment, very high quality. They've really stepped up their touches. We were recently in one of the new Ford Broncos, one of the hottest vehicles out there, and I got to tell you, that dash for a $60,000 SUV is cheap. I'm not comparing this vehicle to a Bronco, but saying that, considering the price point, this vehicle is priced in the 20s, and you get much nicer quality material than a vehicle priced in the $45,000 to $65,000 range, and that goes to show you that Toyota cares, and this is going to pay off in the long run, because it'll last longer, and these customers are going to stay with Toyota for a long time. The full digital display is brilliant. I mean, to think that a vehicle in this segment has a full digital display is really kind of mind-boggling. The lower trim levels, you're going to get analog gauges, which I'm perfectly fine with, and a smaller multi-information display, but this is nice. It's a nice upgrade. I'm a little surprised that they don't have they do have USB-C, but not up here. Up here is just a regular USB. It's okay. I see them migrating. It's interesting. I was recently in a VW that had only USB-C. So I think car companies are really trying to figure out what the right mix is. I say put 3 of each. How much more could that really cost? But again, very little to complain about. The CVT transmission has been good. Very less whiny than we would expect. You can manually shift if you want to, and otherwise you just let it do its thing. So good spacing, good headroom, good leg room, hip room, everything. I was surprised actually to see how roomy this vehicle is and how well it drives. Let's face it, Texas is truck country, but Toyota picked Austin, Texas for a specific reason. It's very youthful and it's fast growing and the perfect setting for the all-new 2022 Corolla Cross. I think they have a real home run on their hands here, and all the crossovers are doing extremely well, but the bottom line is the Toyota brand, it stands for itself. It's been around for longer than any other Japanese brand in America, and their reputation precedes them. I have no problem recommending this vehicle. This is not a paid advertisement. This is just me giving you my opinion compared to the other vehicles in the segment. I'm Ron Doran. Thanks for watching. See you next time on The Driver's Seat.